The story of the American presidents. The President of the United States, head of the government. In the heart of Washington, D.C., stands the White House, a building known around the world as a symbol of leadership, power, and responsibility. Inside this historic home and workplace lives the President of the United States, the head of the federal government and one of the most influential leaders on earth. The President is not a king or a ruler for life, but an elected official chosen by the people to serve the nation, protect its constitution, and guide the country through times of peace and crisis. The role of the President was created in 1787 when the Founding Fathers gathered to write the United States Constitution. They wanted a leader strong enough to govern but limited enough to prevent tyranny. As a result, the President's powers are balanced by Congress and the courts. This system, known as checks and balances, ensures that no single person controls the government. Even so, the President holds great authority and carries enormous responsibility. The President serves as the chief executive, meaning they are responsible for enforcing the laws passed by Congress. They oversee the executive branch, which includes major departments such as defense, education, treasury, and state. Millions of government employees ultimately work under the President's leadership. Every decision made at the top can affect the daily lives of Americans, from taxes and education to healthcare and national security. Beyond managing the government, the President is also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. While Congress has the power to declare war, the President directs the military and makes critical decisions to protect the nation. In moments of danger, whether from foreign threats, terrorism, or global conflict, the President must act with speed, wisdom, and caution. These decisions can determine not only the safety of the United States but also the stability of the world. The President also serves as the chief diplomat. They represent the United States in meetings with leaders of other countries, negotiate treaties, and help shape foreign policy. When the President speaks, the world listens. A single speech or meeting can strengthen alliances, ease tensions, or, if handled poorly, create conflict. This global role requires deep understanding, patience, and respect for other nations and cultures. At home, the President is often seen as the symbolic leader of the nation. During times of celebration, tragedy, or uncertainty, Americans look to the President for reassurance and guidance. In moments such as natural disasters or national emergencies, the President addresses the people, offering comfort and unity. These moments remind citizens that the President is not just a political figure but also a voice meant to bring the nation together. Becoming president is not easy. A candidate must be at least 35 years old, be a natural-born citizen, and have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. The journey to the presidency involves long campaigns, debates, elections, and the support of millions of voters. Even after winning, the president's work is constantly examined by the public, the media, and political opponents. Every action is watched, discussed, and often criticized. The president serves a 4-year term and may be elected only twice. This limit reflects the nation's belief that leadership should change and power should never remain in one person's hands for too long. When a president leaves office, they step aside peacefully, allowing the next elected leader to take over. This tradition of peaceful transfer of power is one of the strongest foundations of American democracy. Despite the power of the office, the president is still a citizen, bound by the law and the Constitution. They must swear an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. This promise reminds the president that their loyalty is not to themselves or a political party, but to the nation and its people. In the end, the presidency is more than a position, it is a responsibility filled with challenges, sacrifices, and decisions that shape history. Each president leaves a mark on the country, influencing its direction and values. Through leadership, service, and accountability, the president stands as the head of the United States government and a guardian of its democratic ideals. The story of the American presidents is closely tied to the history of the United States itself. From the nation's founding to the present day, Each president has faced unique challenges shaped by the times in which they lived. Together, these leaders have helped guide the country through war and peace, prosperity and hardship, social change and political conflict. While no president has been perfect, each has left a mark on the nation's development. The presidency began with George Washington, who set many of the traditions that future presidents would follow. Elected as the first president in 1789, Washington helped establish the authority and dignity of the office. He believed strongly in national unity and warned against political parties and foreign entanglements. Perhaps one of his most important contributions was stepping down after 2 terms, setting a powerful example that leadership should be temporary and based on the will of the people. His actions helped ensure that the presidency would not resemble a monarchy. In the 19th century, presidents faced the challenge of a growing nation. Thomas Jefferson expanded the country through the Louisiana Purchase, doubling the size of the United States and opening the door to westward expansion. Andrew Jackson presented himself as a champion of the common man, though his presidency is also remembered for harmful policies such as the forced removal of Native American tribes along the Trail of Tears. These early presidents shaped debates over democracy, federal power, and who truly benefited from American freedom. One of the most significant periods in presidential history came during the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln, often ranked among the greatest presidents, led the nation through its darkest hour. His primary goal was to preserve the Union, but over time he also made the abolition of slavery a central aim of the war. The Emancipation Proclamation and the passage of the 13th Amendment helped end slavery in the United States. Lincoln's leadership, moral vision, and famous speeches, such as the Gettysburg Address, continue to influence the nation's understanding of equality and democracy. The 20th century brought new global responsibilities and domestic challenges. Franklin D. Roosevelt, elected during the Great Depression, expanded the role of the federal government through the New Deal, a series of programs designed to provide relief, recovery, and reform. His leadership during World War II further transformed the presidency, making it a central force in both national and international affairs. Later presidents, such as Harry Truman, John F. Kennedy, and Lyndon B. Johnson, dealt with the Cold War, civil rights, and social change. Johnson's Great Society programs and the Civil Rights Act helped advance equality, even as the Vietnam War deeply divided the nation. In more recent decades, American presidents have faced challenges such as economic globalization, terrorism, and rapid technological change. Ronald Reagan emphasized limited government and free markets, while Barack Obama focused on expanding healthcare access and navigating a polarized political climate. Each modern president has had to balance the expectations of the American people with the realities of a complex, interconnected world. The story of the American presidents is not just a list of leaders, but a reflection of the nation's evolving values and struggles. Through their decisions, successes, and failures, presidents have shaped the direction of the United States. Studying their stories helps us better understand the past and think more carefully about the future of American democracy. There have been 46 presidencies held by 45 individuals, because Grover Cleveland served 2 non-consecutive terms, and the American presidents in order are, George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, James K. Polk, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, James A. Garfield, Chester A. Arthur, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, Grover Cleveland, again, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren G. Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H. W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump. The Founders and the Birth of a Nation, 1789 to 1825. The story of American presidents begins with George Washington, a quiet, disciplined Virginia planter who became the nation's indispensable man. Born in 1732, Washington rose as a military leader during the American Revolution, then shocked the world by voluntarily giving up power. As the first president, 1789 to 1797, he set enduring precedents: a peaceful transfer of power, a two-term limit, a neutral foreign policy, and a functioning federal government. He made the presidency legitimate by the dignity of his character. He was followed by John Adams, a fiery Massachusetts lawyer and revolutionary thinker. Adams had helped secure independence in Europe, and as second president, 1797 to 1801, he kept the young nation out of war with Britain and France despite immense pressure. Though unpopular for the Alien and Sedition Acts, history credits him for placing national survival above political popularity. Then came Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence and champion of liberty. As third president, 1801 to 1809, Jefferson doubled the nation's size with the Louisiana Purchase, securing America's future as a continental power. He believed deeply in education, religious freedom, and democracy, though his life revealed the contradictions of slavery in a nation built on liberty. James Madison, the father of the Constitution, became fourth president, 1809 to 1817. He led the nation through the War of 1812, proving the U.S. could survive another fight with Britain. His leadership solidified American independence and strengthened national identity. James Monroe, the fifth president, 1817 to 1825, presided over the era of good feelings. His greatest achievement was the Monroe Doctrine, warning European powers to stay out of the Western Hemisphere, a bold statement of American confidence that shaped foreign policy for generations. Expansion, Democracy, and Division, 1825 to 1861. The calm faded with John Quincy Adams, a brilliant but politically awkward diplomat. As sixth president, 1825 to 1829, he supported infrastructure and education but struggled against rising populism. That populism found its champion in Andrew Jackson, a self-made frontiersman and war hero. As seventh president, 1829 to 1837, Jackson expanded democracy for white men, crushed elite privilege, and destroyed the National Bank. But his legacy is deeply stained by the forced removal of Native Americans, especially the Trail of Tears. Martin Van Buren, Jackson's ally, became eighth president, 1837 to 1841, and faced a devastating economic depression. He tried to keep government limited during crisis, shaping the philosophy of fiscal restraint. William Henry Harrison, a war hero, served the shortest presidency, just 31 days, in 1841, dying of illness. His death elevated John Tyler, who boldly asserted presidential power and set precedents for succession. James K. Polk, the 11th president, 1845 to 1849, was one of the most effective one-term presidents. He expanded U.S. territory massively through the Mexican-American War, adding California and the Southwest, fulfilling America's vision of manifest destiny. Zachary Taylor, a general with little political experience, served briefly before dying in office. His successor, Millard Fillmore, attempted to hold the Union together through compromise as tensions over slavery intensified. Franklin Pierce and James Buchanan followed, both well-intentioned but ineffective. Their inability to confront the slavery crisis pushed the nation closer to catastrophe. Buchanan, the 15th president, watched helplessly as states began to secede. Civil War and Reconstruction, 1861 to 1877. Into this crisis stepped Abraham Lincoln, born in a log cabin and shaped by hardship. As 16th president, 1861 to 1865, Lincoln preserved the Union during the Civil War, issued the Emancipation Proclamation, and redefined American freedom. His assassination made him a martyr and immortal symbol of unity and sacrifice. Andrew Johnson, Lincoln's successor, struggled during Reconstruction. His leniency toward the South and clashes with Congress led to his impeachment, though he survived removal by one vote. Ulysses S. Grant, a quiet military genius, became 18th president, 1869 to 1877. He protected the rights of formerly enslaved people and fought the Ku Klux Klan, though his administration was marred by corruption among subordinates. Industry, Reform, and Global Power, 1877 to 1929. The late 19th century saw presidents like Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, Chester Arthur, Grover Cleveland, and Benjamin Harrison managing rapid industrial growth. Garfield was assassinated early, prompting civil service reform. Cleveland stood out for honesty and fiscal discipline, serving 2 non-consecutive terms. The presidency was transformed by Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president, 1901 to 1909. A dynamic reformer, Roosevelt fought monopolies, protected national parks, and projected American power abroad. He believed the presidency should be a bully pulpit for moral leadership. William Howard Taft, his successor, strengthened the judiciary, while Woodrow Wilson led the nation through World War I. Wilson championed democracy and the League of Nations, though America ultimately rejected his vision. Depression, War, and the Modern State, 1929 to 1953. The prosperity of the 1920s collapsed under Herbert Hoover, whose limited government philosophy proved inadequate during the Great Depression. Hope returned with Franklin D. Roosevelt, the only 4-term president, 1933 to 1945. Confined to a wheelchair yet immense in spirit, FDR launched the New Deal, reshaping the federal government's role in citizens' lives. He also led America through World War II, forging the modern global order before dying in office. Harry S. Truman, a former haberdasher, finished the war, made the agonizing decision to use atomic weapons, and helped create NATO. He also desegregated the U.S. military. Cold War and Social Change, 1953 to 1989. Dwight D. Eisenhower, a war hero, governed calmly during the Cold War, building the interstate highway system and avoiding nuclear conflict. John F. Kennedy, youthful and inspirational, challenged Americans to service and led during the Cuban Missile Crisis before his assassination shocked the world. Lyndon B. Johnson used political mastery to pass historic civil rights and Great Society legislation, though the Vietnam War overshadowed his legacy. Richard Nixon opened relations with China and ended U.S. involvement in Vietnam, but resigned after the Watergate scandal, proving no president is above the law. Gerald Ford restored stability, while Jimmy Carter emphasized human rights and brokered peace in the Middle East, though economic struggles hurt his presidency. The Contemporary Era, 1989, present. Ronald Reagan, a former actor, reshaped American conservatism, cut taxes, challenged the Soviet Union, and helped bring the Cold War to a close. George H. W. Bush led a coalition to victory in the Gulf War and managed the peaceful collapse of the Soviet Union. Bill Clinton presided over economic growth and technological change, though his presidency was marked by impeachment. George W. Bush faced the defining crisis of September 11, 2001, launching wars in Afghanistan and Iraq while expanding executive power. Barack Obama, the first black president, guided the nation through economic recovery, expanded healthcare with the Affordable Care Act, and emphasized diplomacy. Donald Trump, a businessman turned populist leader, reshaped political norms, appointed conservative judges, and governed during intense polarization and a global pandemic. Joe Biden, a lifelong public servant, became president during crisis, focusing on infrastructure, economic recovery, alliances, and democratic stability. Donald Trump served as the 45th President of the United States from 2017 to 2021, running on a populist platform that emphasized America First, stricter immigration policies, and renegotiation of international trade deals. His administration enacted significant tax cuts through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, rolled back numerous federal regulations, appointed 3 Supreme Court justices, and pursued a hard-line approach to immigration, including efforts to build a wall along the U.S. Mexico border. In foreign policy, Trump favored unilateral action, withdrew the U.S. from several international agreements, and pursued direct diplomacy with leaders such as North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Trump's presidency was highly polarizing and marked by constant political controversy. Supporters praised his outsider status, confrontational style, and focus on nationalism and economic growth prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, while critics raised concerns about his rhetoric, handling of the pandemic, relationships with the media, and challenges to democratic norms. He was impeached twice by the House of Representatives, first in 2019 and again in 2021, though acquitted both times by the Senate. His tenure reshaped American political discourse and left a lasting impact on both the Republican Party and the broader U.S. political landscape. The American presidency is not the story of perfection, it is the story of experiment, struggle, growth, and resilience. Each president reflected the fears and hopes of their time. Some expanded freedom, others failed it. Some united the nation, others divided it. Together, they form a living story of democracy, unfinished, contested, and still being written. Thank you for watching this video.